Hello. So today we're going over the new patch. Basically, at the start of every week, there's going to be a nice tutorial content and or patch review content on this daily gaming channel. And because it's going to be patch 14.10, this is going to be on Wednesday, right? So the patch notes are out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a patch note review. So these patch notes, they're from Mort Dog's YouTube channel. So for those of you that don't know, Mort Dog's a dev for TFT, and he posts a lot of content as well. So, you know, if you want to see Mort Dog's content as well as when he gives these patch rundowns, everything's taken from there, and make sure you can subscribe. I always want to give credit where credit's due. These slides are just pictures taken from this YouTube channel's videos. So of course, if you want to see if you want to see this opinion, make sure to check out this content as well. Speaking of my own channel, we're gaining a lot of subs really fast. I don't know how, I don't know why, but thank you to everybody. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to subscribe. Right? There's lots of people I'm subscribed to that I don't watch anymore, or I don't watch every day. This is a daily TFT content channel, so I post VOD review of my own videos daily, and then weekly. We try and do some kind of fun content. So this time it's going to be a patch review. When it's not a patch week, then we usually will do a tutorial guide or something along the lines of that. Anyways, without much further, one more thing. So like I haven't been. Usually I stream on Twitch a lot. All the things are in like the description of my videos, but I haven't been streaming that much lately. And if you're in my Discord, you kind of hear me sometimes like procrastinate and not stream. I'm actually just like uploading a lot of the art that I finished now. I have a anime convention, Anime North. It's in Canada. It's at the end of the month, so I have to like finish a bunch of illustrations because I have a gallery spot. So I'm just making a bunch of framed art. I'm gonna be posting on Instagram like 2 posts a day now. If you guys just want to see what they look like, I'm not the best artist, but I'm still trying my best to make it work. Anyways, now let's actually get to the patch review. Sorry about the little bit of a long-winded intro. I tried to make it as fast as possible, but we like to give little channel updates and stuff right at the start. So we start with system changes here, right? So systems changes are primarily, how do I phrase it? Also, I'll probably lower this. People have been bitching about this song. So system changes. Prismatic orbs, you can't get them on Krugs anymore. I feel like what they're trying to do is they're trying to make it that the prismatic orbs don't drop as often, and as a result they're also increasing the gold value. They want prismatic orbs, they were mentioning this earlier in the week, they want them to feel special. They want them to feel like, hey, I hit this prismatic orb and it's like a crazy cool fun game, right? They changed like the table, right? I think that's fine. Right, I don't care either way. Right, when a prismatic orb dropped, they did this change now that if they made prismatic orbs, and they made it so that like everybody gets a prismatic orb when a prismatic orb drops. So I kind of liked that change already. It kind of did everything that I wanted. Right, that was like my biggest problem with these in like previous sets, previous patches. Like when somebody gets a spat and nobody else gets compensation. There's still some that are better. I feel like Masterworks upgrade is always the best one. Like, I don't know if it's just me. Like, maybe I'm dumb as shit as bricks. But, like, every time these orbs drop and I get, like, a fucking 4 cost or something, like, it's, like, hit or miss. It's, like, do I get a good one or do I get a bad one? Like, Masterwork upgrade is so good because, like, you're already making you're already playing. If you're playing the game properly, you're already playing with, like, the items. And like playing around the items that you have and putting like good items on your carry, and then a Masterwork upgrade just gives you a free radiant item for that unit, right? And I feel like compared to all the other ones, it's like the biggest spike because it fits your board the best, right? Like you can miss on a support anvil, or your comp doesn't need support anvil. You can miss on duplicate. You can never miss on Masterwork. It's never like, oh, I get a radiant item for whatever comp I'm playing that's tailored to my comp because I already made the item for it. It's like, you know what I mean? So that's why this is the only one that I like. I always hope that I get this one, but I don't know if it needs to be nerfed or anything. I think that's just a me thing, like the playstyle I have, right? Some people might slam items that are bad and they don't want a Masterworks upgrade because it doesn't spike them instantly, right? It's a give or take. It's just what fits best my playstyle. And double up, I don't know. Player orders randomized. I don't play double up. I try to convince my friends to play and they keep saying no, so it is what it is. I just have to play solely dolly. So traits, they said this patch they weren't going to make any large sweeping changes. They were all going to be like small adjustments and little changes. But instead, basically what they're doing here is, how do I phrase it? They're like nudging everything, but I think that's going to change stuff a little bit, right? So like, again, they're once again, for example, like they're buffing Behemoth duration of like the buffs, as well as like they're upgrading 6 Behemoth. It's a small upgrade, but it might make it that like a 6 Behemoth frontline is really good. The thing that's crazy about this though is that one of the best performing augments is the Yorick hero augment, right? Like if I were to how can I do this real fast? So let's just go here. Let's go like tactics tools. I'll show you what I mean real fast. Where's Explorer? Or where's augments here? Right? If I go like gold and I go placement, well, the best augment is Midnight Siphon, and the next best one is Wrath of the Moon, right? And with Midnight Siphon, if you typically the traits that you play is like obviously like 9 Umbral, whatever, right? These are all like high roll things, but a lot of times you're playing like 6 Behemoth here, if I recall correctly. Actually no, it's actually a lot worse now. Oh, I guess you don't play 6 Behemoth anymore. The old version of this comp was you played 6 Behemoth. I think now you just play Umbral, and that's why it's doing so good. Never mind. But like these ones, like the ones that have like Yorick is what I was saying. Like this Yorick unit with Midnight Siphon is a fucking demon. So like I feel like that directly buffs that line. So I'm just scared about that. Other than that, I don't think it changes that much. I don't think you're going to see like, you know, 6 Behemoth becoming meta because of this change. It might be like 3 seconds extra is a lot of duration, but I just feel like the armor, because there's so many like shred opportunities, it doesn't matter that much, so to speak. Also, I'm going to boost my volume now that song is done. So I don't know, right? I actually don't know about this change. I don't know if there's gonna be like the AHRI Warriors setup like of last set where you just play like six of the, like, remember it was like 6 Sentinel AHRI in the background and then AHRI just went nuts. I don't know if it's gonna be like a 6 Behemoth with a backline carry and it's gonna go nuts type of beat. Exalted, they're giving another 2%. I'm finding more and more reason to play Exalted. There's a couple Exalted lines where I just hard force if I know the, like, I think there's certain Exalted boards that fit in very nicely that you kind of just can play towards off rip. Especially if nobody is playing towards those lines, and I'm starting to learn them like slowly but surely. I think it's really important, and I'll probably eventually I'll make a video on it when I like actually like become like an expert at most of the lines. But like I'm actually trying to like read up on them, because like they keep buffing the damage, and at one point it's gonna be broken. At one point it's gonna be like, yeah, it's just better to play Exalted than other things. I don't know if this is the breaker point, but it was already pretty good last patch to play towards Exalted. Ghostly, they're making it so that the ghost spawn even faster. I feel like Ghostly was already in a good spot. This might bring back tempo Ghostly. One of the things that was forgotten when they nerfed Ghostly the last time was like tempo Ghostly, which was like play Ghostly early and then go like fast 8 to play 6 Ghostly, and then after going fast 8 you just go fast 9, right? So you go fast 9, then you can drop some of the Ghostly units and just play legendary board, right? That's what it means by tempo. I don't know if this will make it come back. It's like the stronger Ghostly is, right, the more options you have of not re-rolling and then just tempoing. And that's when Ghostly was broken, right? Because then the whole lobby was playing Ghostly, because if you didn't have a Ghostly in, you probably were losing most of the fights. That was like a couple patches ago. And then if you weren't re-rolling Ghostly, you would just tempo it into level 9 because it was so broken, right? So I don't know if that's going to matter, right? Especially with like Behemoth increases. Like maybe we see like a Behemoth Ghostly line with like Shen, right? You could play around that maybe. Ink Shadow, they're buffing 5 Ink Shadow. I feel like this just makes Kaisa a little bit more flexible, right? You're never really playing, there's not really any other Ink Shadow unit you're playing. Maybe like Senna, right? But you're not really playing anything besides Kaisa. But like imagine like imagine now like you don't hit like a really good front line. You could probably play like, you know, the Kaisa board, but with like what's his name, like Jax and Volley, right? In addition to like Aatrox in the other one, right? Because like the extra damage reduction, and then if you hit like a late game like Udyr, you can probably sit on 5 Ink Shadow, just like a little bit of a damage reduction and damage buff, which seems like a lot. It might make it like stable enough to not play towards like the typical like Kaisa board that you see nowadays. Mythic, The buffs for Mythic seem very small. I felt like playing Vertical Mythic was okay. It was like a good top 4able comp. I don't know if this makes it broken. Porcelain, they're reducing 4 Porcelain. I think that's good. I think 4 Porcelain was really strong, but they're not reducing it by a lot. The attack speed by 5, the damage reduction is by 2. It might stockpile and make your board cap a little bit less high, because the biggest problem with this was when you were playing like full legendaries, but they did a bigger nerf to Porcelain, which I'll talk about later. Because the 4 Porcelain isn't the issue. The bigger issue was Lysandra, and they fucking gutted Lysandra. They said no major changes, but they fucking gutted Lysandra. Reaper, they're making the crit damage and the true damage increase. This might make the lines like you know, like Kayn especially, like they might make 4 Reaper come back like really early on. Like it was found that it was like 4 Reaper was kind of useless and you just played 2 Reaper, but early on you would play like an Umbral board with like Kayn, Yone, and like play 4 Reaper variation with that. But nowadays, like you don't see that anymore, which kind of is like, okay, that might come back. So just be ready for like 4 Reaper setup. So basically it was like Umbral with Yone, and then you played Ornn, right? You played like what's it called? Yone, Kayn, Kindred, what's the Reaper guy? Kha'Zix. Then you played Ornn with Yorick for your front line as well, and that was like your board on like level 6. Then level 7 you had a +1. So usually you either played like a heavenly unit or you played like a ghostly unit for Kayn, right? That was like the old tech. And then usually you want to go 9 to fit in like 4 Umbral or something like that, right? And then you can play like Silas and a Bruiser. Anyways, also this thing is annoying. I'm gonna move it up a little bit. Sniper, they increased the damage. 2 Sniper, it's only by like 1, but it's damage per hex, so that means that it's actually increased by a lot, the percentage, because usually it's around 6 hexes, I would say, that, like if you're going backline to backline. So 6 hexes is actually gonna be like 6 extra damage, 6% extra damage, which seems like a lot. 4 Sniper is kind of crazy now because it's increased by 3, like per hex, 18 per hex. I don't know. That sounds kind of nuts. That sounds like you can stockpile really fast because it's going to be like a bonus 18 damage, right? Because it's going to be 6 hexes times 3 of the increase. So I don't know if 4 Sniper build's going to work, right? I wish there was a way that, like, you can't play 4 Sniper 6. Like, unless you have a spat, you can't fit like 4 Sniper 6 Behemoth, right? Like something like this, like some kind of crazy vertical trait with like 4 Sniper backline. Because the biggest problem with Sniper is like even 6 Sniper, it's like you kind of can delete it, but you need like a really good front line. So it's like a really expensive board to hit. So it's like kind of whack. It's kind of wackadoodle. So like, you know, with some of these vertical traits getting busted, maybe there's like a version of a comp like that I would like to try out and see. But that's only with like a Sniper +1, and then you have to like really invest in it. So it's a little bit scary to do. Story Weaver, they're buffing Kale damage. They're buffing swiftness. They're basically buffing Story Weaver altogether. I kind of said this last time. They nerfed Story Weaver 1 or 2 patches ago, and in the patch notes, in the patch review, I was like, I don't even think Story Weaver is gonna be that big of a problem relative to like the rest of the traits. And I was kind of right. They kind of nerfed Story Weaver. It kind of stopped being played. Like it was just played on boards that it really fit in on. But in most cases, it was like a throw to play Story Weaver, vertical Story Weaver. I don't know. I understand the problem. It's because like Story Weaver is so good to fit in and so strong early that you want like stuff in. So they buffed just 5 Story Weaver. I don't know. I don't know if Story Weaver is going to be like really early on in the set. Story Weaver was like dominant, so they had to like deal with it somehow. But I think now that all the 4 costs are really strong, Story Weaver doesn't really lean into a 4 cost particularly well unless it's Kai'Sa. But Kai'Sa really needs like the support of the extra trick shot, so it doesn't like necessarily like you're never playing like 5 Story Weaver Kai'Sa, but maybe now you will, right? That's what I mean. Maybe now there's like options like that, because the Kale extra damage will help a little bit. Trick shot, they reduced the 4 trick shot damage. That's good. I think that's a good change. I think 4 trick shot was like the bigger problem when you have like Zai and everybody. So damage reduction is great. Lower that power level a little bit. Umbral. I didn't get a chance to try this patch, like vertical Umbral, but I heard that it was kind of nuts because basically it's just like a lot of HP to chew through. with all the Umbral buffs, so they're nerfing it slightly. So I think that's fine. I just haven't had a chance personally to experience it. Not even people in my lobby were playing Umbral, so but I looked in the stats and Umbral was pretty good. Like Umbral spat, I think in the stats is the best spat to take next to like the really broken ones. We can check it in this right, like if I go here and I go items and I go emblems and I go placement, right, like Ghostly is obviously always good. Just like Ghostly is shockingly good, but I think that's just because like usually you take a Ghostly emblem to hit like that Ghostly threshold, which makes you like tempo into late game and do like really well. Like this is usually with a Ghostly emblem you play Template. Heavenly is always good. That's like the new emblem you just shove on any board and it like spikes your board in some sort of way, because you can always fit in like some kind of heavenly buff. And then right after that's Umbral, right? And I think this one surprises some people if you haven't been like paying attention to a lot of stuff, but Umbral's like really fucking good because the execute, you just put on like an AoE unit, right? Like I put Umbral spat on Irelia in a previous game because I was looking at stats, but something like Irelia, like even like they say oh, you have to put relative delta. But there's a lot of units that just like if you hit like a random backline like a Felios for example, or Lux or Ahri that does like AoE, like there's some units where it's just like, oh okay, yeah, they're all fucking dead because the execute, right? So that's really nice. Anyways, they're nerfing it. And then once again, like Behemoth, I don't know how big of a change these things will be. They're trying to buff like the Wardens in general. I think they might be really good now. I think Wardens are going to be better than Behemoth. I think the flat damage reduction ones are usually a little bit better than the armor ones, because the armor ones, like, you have to worry about sundering, and it usually, like, your items become weird because you can't, like, it's like diminishing returns to put items. If you have a damage reduction trait and then you put like plus armor and plus MR, it works out really nicely. But like with the other ones, it's diminishing returns like on a Behemoth, so it's sometimes difficult to make tank items. Okay, champ changes. So AHRI buffs in general are a little bit scary because maybe AHRI reroll becomes a thing. It's a really substantial 3-star increase. I know AHRI reroll was kind of okay, but you really need to cap it out around faded late game. So it was like okay, but it wasn't good to go for. The AHRI working on the Syndra board is also kind of scary because AHRI already, if you looked at the Syndra board when you pair AHRI and Syndra, AHRI already did a shit ton of damage because of the way faded works, how everybody gets the faded bonuses. These random like 1-cost and 2-cost units do a lot of work on the board. Like they do a lot, right? So I don't understand why they're buffing her that much. I felt like she was already pretty good. But you know, we'll see. Maybe AHRI becomes like a demon next set. Jax, a little bit more armor. I think Jax was a little bit underwhelming. They buffed Garen again. I felt like Garen got like a lot better, but then like towards the middle of the set, like towards the middle of this patch now, like people don't really care anymore. Kabuko already I feel like is really strong, and they're making him like less mana. I think this makes Lucky Paws even better. I've done many videos on Lucky Paws. You can check them out on my channel. That's like the most broken augment, and they're still not touching that augment for some reason. So like I don't get it. And they're buffing Kabuko. I felt like Kabuko already was pretty strong. Here's some changes. They're making Aatrox a little bit less tanky. They're making him a little bit more like, he has a little bit more attack speed. This is really good for Ghostly, right? If you're doing like a Ghostly build. I felt like you never really itemized Aatrox anyways. I felt like he was just absurdly like annoying sometimes. And they give him a mana buff as well. This is pretty good. This is pretty much just really good for Ghostly, and this is like bad for Kai'Sa board, because Kai'Sa board you want him to be on the front line to stall, and you always play him on Kai'Sa. But this is what you really care about with Ghostly, because his mana, his ability, he shreds, right? What does that mean? He reduces magic resist, and Ghostly damage is magic damage, right? So a lot of times with Ghostly, you would want, if you made like vertical Ghostly, you played reroll Ghostly, you wanted to make like a spark to do mana reaving, right? Or not, sorry, not mana reaving, to do MR, magic resist shred, right? Aatrox has that built in, so it allows you to, like, if you're playing a backline, which was usually like Senna, usually like you would want like armor shred on Senna, but like with the Ghostly board, if you're playing like just vertical Ghostly, not tempo Ghostly, you would want like a spark instead, because it doesn't really matter the Senna damage. You just want Senna to auto attack a lot, so you don't really care about her like sundering, right? Aatrox being casting a little bit faster. It makes it nicer that he's more reliable in terms of offering that early game shred, which will work well with the Ghostly board until you either make shred for Ghostly or maybe even don't even make it because you have other carries that are more important doing different damage, right? That's just something to take note of. Kindred, I don't know why they're buffing Kindred damage. Kindred's a fucking demon, but I think they're trying to compensate because Nar's bad. But it's like they're buffing faded units, right? Isn't the Syndra board like the most broken board now? They buffed Ahri, they buffed Kindred. If I don't see a Syndra nerf coming up, like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, because the problem is with faded is like whenever you buff the faded units, it makes sense in the Dryad board because they're gonna reduce Nar's AD per stack. So you want like Kindred to compensate damage. Kindred already fucking does a shit ton of damage, and in like the Syndra board, Kindred does a shit ton of damage on that board too, right? He's really important, or sorry, she's really important, and it's just like, bro, come on. Now Nico spell healing is pretty cool. I think it makes him or her. Sorry, I'm fucking up all the pronouns today. It makes her more reliable in being a frontline unit. I felt like the biggest problem with Nico is that she wasn't really good at being a frontline unit. She was really good if you played her with like the what's it called? The Drop Blossom and the Hero Augment, but now she might be a little bit more reliable just to have on the board. Like Vertical Arcanist, usually put her as a frontline unit, for example. One cost champs, they're making Rek'Sai a little bit stronger. I don't know why. I felt like with Vertical Dryad it was already annoying. She's getting more armor and she's getting a better like a little bit less to max cast on mana, so that's pretty good. Yasuo, they're reducing the faded bonus, but they're buffing the base spell shield. This again is fucked up because I feel like faded is in a really good spot already. I think faded is gonna be really broken next patch, right? Like next patch, I think faded is gonna be undeniably the best comp, right? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's other comps that come out better, like because they're making a lot of changes to a lot of the different traits, obviously. But it's like Yasuo's shield was like really good early game, so that makes sense that they have to nerf it. But compensating and giving him like what is this? Hello? Like so much extra shield? The thing is, you're not pairing Yasuo late game. You're pairing Ahri and Syndra, right? Whenever you play Faded, the tech now is you always pair Ahri plus Syndra, right? With like the new version of the board where you're just like trying to make Syndra shred and less stall, right? Before, Yasuo was good because you played like the stall Faded board. But if you just make Yasuo randomly tanky, you could just play him as a synergy bot, and this guy's just going to be on your board just doing shit the whole game. Like, that's a lot of spell shield. 50? 50 spell shield? I guess it's 50 HP, but still, that's a lot. This is not a small change, right? It really makes him tanky. And I feel like early game, yeah, like early game, whatever. It's hard to say because there's like, you know, one thing or another thing. Oops, I accidentally made it smaller. But like, damn, that's a lot. Teemo. Okay, so I think I made a video at one point about Teemo reroll. I think Teemo reroll might be back because Teemo reroll is kind of silly, but like, the biggest problem with Teemo reroll is that Teemo kind of fell off in damage. They did like a thing where like first Teemo was buffed. Then they nerfed his damage, and they were like, oh yeah, like, you know, he's just don't want him to be too strong, and now they just like buffed it even more than it was originally. I think, like, I don't think this is like a reversion. I think it's like a buff past the damage decrease that they gave. So I think Teemo reroll might be a thing now. Like, obviously it's situational. It's really good with like 2 healthy, for example. But Teemo already does a shit ton of damage. Even on the Kaisa board, you give Teemo AP items, he does a shit ton of damage. Like, they nerfed 4 trick shot, maybe that's why. But like, I don't know, this is kind of crazy. This is one change that I think is silly and I don't really like. As well as like some of the faded changes, but we'll see what happens. They made Yorick even stronger. They buffed 6 Behemoth and they buffed Yorick. I don't know. And Yorick is like I feel like the 2 augments I showed you before, Midnight Siphon and Wrath of the Moon, I think like they're must takes now. I think if you see it, you have to take it. I think this is way too much compensation, right? Behemoth buffs and Yorick buffs, like, hello? Soraka was kind of weak. She didn't really do much, so changes to Soraka are pretty good. Zoe, they decreased the I don't know what this is actually. Primary spell damage, ricochet. Oh, this is the ricochets. So the primary spell damage is lower and the ricochet damage is up by a lot. Oh god. This is either the most broken thing ever. I think what this does. Okay, this change. I've played a lot of Arcanist this whole set, so I think I understand what this change will do, right? Zoe gains +1 ricochet off kill, right? So what happens is when she kills somebody, she gains an extra ricochet, and then what a ricochet is that her cast bounces and does additional damage to more units on the board. So she gains +1 ricochet, so she hits 1 extra unit every single time she kills a unit, right? What the problem is, like, they're nerfing the primary spell damage, so she gets less ricochet, so it's harder to get those additional ricochets, but then increasing the ricochet damage, so she does more damage. What I think this will change in the way you play Zoe is you have to play, like, Giga AP, right? You have to play, like, Vertical Arcanist, multiple AP. Like, you can't play that Zoe board where you play like general, like, you know, like the Zoe board where you play Janna and Diana and Storyweaver. You have to play with Vertical Arcanist, because if you have the primary spell, if right now all that matters is you killing the first unit, right? If you kill the first unit and you get this ricochet going, you're gonna start shredding through the whole board, right? So I think it makes her a much more reliable carry, but it makes her more focused that you have to build, like, really, like, you don't build attack speed items on her anymore. Before, she was really good with, like, red buff. Well, red buff does bonus damage, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, there was, like, Shiv, like, stuff like that had decent stats on her. I feel like now you want to build, like, fucking Rabadon JG, fucking Giga casting, you know what I mean? Just try and one-shot, because you want to try and one-shot as many things as possible, so your ricochets get as much, because this ricochet damage is a lot of a buff. Like, look at it. 225 to 325, right? Like, this is a small change. It's, like, relatively small compared to this. So you really want to get these ricochets going. Okay. Annie. This is 3-star Annie, right? Okay. HP nerf. Yeah, I think they're slowly toning down the AP nerfs, because the HP nerfs, because when they did this HP change, it kind of brought all the 4 costs into the meta, and now there's, like, less opportunity to play, like, 3 costs and 2 costs a lot of the time. I kind of like 4 cost meta, so I would prefer it if they just didn't touch these units, but, you know, I understand that a lot of people, especially if you're starting out in TFT, like, you know, when I started out in TFT, I just played 1 cost rerolls, right? I didn't come out the womb fucking Giga Chad playing every type of comp I can imagine. No, it's like I just looked up a guide on how to play a 1-cost reroll, and I forced the same comp every single game, and that's what you should do if you're in bronze, because that's what everybody else is doing, right? And, you know, it's fucking hard to, like, just, like, start, like, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, it's hard to play around stuff that's, like, you know, 10 turns away. Play with, like, the units that are right in front of your face at the start, right? So I understand the changes, because, like, you want to make, like, the lower cost units a little bit more of an option, especially to appeal to, like, all levels of play, as well as, like, even in high level of play, having a variety of styles is important as well, right? Some people really like playing around low cost units, and they're, like, top 20 challenger in the world, right? Or top 10, top 1 maybe, I don't know, right? So it's good to have, like, you know, you can't have the 4 costs always being, like, insanely strong. You want to have some variance in the, but I just like it when 4 costs are strong. I'll leave it at that. She's getting a lot of nerfs. 3-star. These are 3-star changes to Annie. The debuff duration and the healing is decreased. That makes a lot of sense. I think Annie's, like, the best unit, like, the best tank in the game. I said it for a lot of patches. So these were due, right? These were, like, due to come in at one point. Lilia, the targeting pattern now will hit more enemies more often. I think that's really good, because a lot of times, like, you would put, like, Morello, like, if you're playing, like, Ashe Lilia, you would put Morello on Lilia, or at least I would, right? Then sometimes she just wouldn't hit units, so you're just not spreading, like, utility really well. I think it's really nice now, because it makes her a little bit better at applying utility, like, using utility items on her and applying that. I think that's a decent change. It makes it synergizes well with where her place was in the meta, right? Without, like, buffing her greatly. It just solidifies, like, yeah, now she'll be better at her job, right? Less HP and armor to Kayn. I felt like Kayn was really busted. Even in this set, even in this patch, like, Kayn wasn't as popular because they kind of axed Heavenly a little bit and Heavenly Kayn line. But like, you could still play Heavenly Kayn. That's how broken it was. That's how broken he was as a unit. You can still play him this patch. I feel like you can still play a random Kayn on a lot of boards, right? It's just really hard to like justify playing towards him when there was like other boards. Sylas changes. I'm gonna be honest here. I think Sylas is fake. I lost so much elo I've been trying so fucking hard. I want you guys to know this, right? What I do for this channel. I've been trying so hard to play. Like every time I have like an AP, like a solid AP opener or anything like that, I'm like, I gotta play Sylas, right? Okay, sorry, my music got paused. I was like, I gotta play Sylas because the people of my YouTube channel, I want to give them a Sylas guide. I want to teach them how to play Sylas Sage. I want to teach them how to play around Sylas in a Kai'Sa comp. I want to teach them how to play. This Sylas unit is so fucking bad. Like sometimes he just fucking does nothing. Like sometimes he goes infinite and it's like, I swear to God, it's also because he's so contested, right? Because like all the Kai'Sa players want Sylas. Anybody who sees a Sylas holds a Sylas. All the melee people will hold a Sylas. All the fucking Sage people will hold a Sylas. Like I don't know if it like, but the Sylas unit, like even if you hit 2-star Sylas, I felt like it wasn't like he was not as strong as just playing towards something else, right? I feel like I genuinely feel like I lost so much LP trying to play around this unit. I'm tilted. I think he's cool. I think his design's cool. I love it when there's melee AP units because I feel like a melee AP unit can take every item in the game, right? So like you can put AP items on Sylas, which is usually what you end up putting on him. AP tank items is usually what you put on him. But if it's a frontline, you can also put AP tank items on him. You can also put like general melee items on him because he's a melee unit in some builds, right? So I love AP melee units because they can take every item in the game, it feels like, right? But like, what the fuck? It's so annoying to play around this unit. Anyways, they're nerfing the healing a little bit and they're nerfing the overall HP. Overall HP on melee units is really important. I remember there was one set, I always bring it up, where they buffed one melee unit's HP by like 100 and it went from top of the meta to bottom of the meta. Or sorry, from bottom of the meta to top of the meta with 100 HP, right? It really depends on the unit and how much they go infinite. Here there's also some nerfs to like general things like healing and armor and MR. So it might be a little bit harder to play around these units compared to like last time. But anyways, I feel like HP nerf, yes. Spell healing, I think it's a little bit much. I feel like the Sylas unit wasn't like broken, right? I felt like it was good. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm complaining about it and I'm talking about it a lot. But that's mostly because like, you know, I played it in some bad spots and I lost LP because of it. I still think Sylas is like a really strong unit. But I don't think Sylas, like if you had a Sage Sylas setup, I don't think you're playing for like top 1. It wasn't like broken. Right, I guess the same thing with Kayn. They're just trying to like bring down the power of everybody, but like still. Here's the big change. List no longer throws the enemy in stun. So you know how List, she puts an enemy in a teapot and then she throws it to the backline. Guess what? She's not throwing it to the backline anymore. As a result, they're decreasing her mana to make her cast a lot more. I think they axed I think the stun was really big for List. So I think they kind of axed her and she might be really weak. I don't know if in the porcelain setup she's good because the porcelain setup you really wanted her to stun. Here she's like keeps putting people in the teapot. I think this works really well for Arcanist because Arcanist, like she'll have so much HP that if you play towards Lissandra and you hit like a vertical Arcanist line, that it'll fit in really nicely. Right? I think like now if the Lissandra can kill units, because before the biggest thing with Lissandra was that a low-cost Lissandra wouldn't kill the unit, but then she would throw it and stun it, right? So let's say you had a Lissandra 1 on your board. She would take the tank, she would put in the teapot, then she would remove the tank from the front line by throwing it to the back line. So it shuffled the whole board. So it made it so that if they had like a Giga tank, you would be able to like move your units around that tank. And that's why she was so broken. It wasn't just like the teapot and the scaling items. It's like that's like a whole nother situation that makes her broken, right? The stun and the throwing of the tank was good because if Lissandra didn't kill the tank unit, she still threw the unit out of place. Like she literally displaced the tank so that your whole board can kind of shuffle itself, right? And a lot of times that changed the outcome of the fight. She stuns the backline, which also changed the outcome of the fight. And she didn't necessarily have to be strong. Like, she didn't have to kill anything. She didn't have to like cast a bunch. She just had to like boom, throw the tank, and you're good to go, right? Now, because like 1-star Lysandra, it's like she just puts it in the teapot, but she doesn't throw it anymore, so it doesn't displace. It doesn't do that displacement. It doesn't do the stun, which is like a huge difference, and it also makes 1-star Lysandra a lot worse because Lysandra's not like, she's not providing all that utility by not killing, right? Because what would happen before is if you had too much items on your Lysandra, then she would actually kill some of the tank units, and then she wouldn't stun the backline. So a lot of times you didn't even care about itemizing Lysandra. Now, because she casts a bunch, you might want to itemize her just because you want her to like chain cast and like kill the tank, or like help kill the tank, so that you can like farm items more reliably, right? Like her point kind of changes, is what I'm trying to say. Now, that being said, she'll still be good against, she'll probably be better against melee carries, right? But they kind of nerf some of the melee carries. But if there's like a Kayn board, for example, Lysandra's really good. Or if there's like a hero augment board, like the Yorick board, Lysandra's really good. Because just being able to like repeatedly remove a frontline unit from the fight is really important. So it's hard to say. I think Mortdog was saying that she might be the weakest 5 cost now, according to their testing. I don't trust their testing because, like, you know, as soon as you put stuff in the wild, things always end up different. That's not a jab at them. I'm not saying they're bad at testing. I'm saying that, like, you know, having thousands and thousands of eyes and hours on these units is definitely better than like whatever QA team you can ever have, right? That's what I mean. Because there's a lot of times they release stuff and then it drastically changes their opinion on what they thought was going to happen, what actually happens, because TFT is complex. Xayah nerfs, good. Fuck that unit. Set buffs, good. I think he needs something. The casting a bunch is good because now he might stun. So Set might be like a better stunner than Lysandra, which is kind of funny. Champs. So these are small changes. They're basically knocking 50 HP off a bunch of units, right? They're trying to like slightly tone back that change. Oh, 100 off of Ornn, by the way. They're trying to, and Lee Sin, 100 off Lee Sin. Oh, that's gonna be rough. Lee Sin really likes the HP. But they're trying to tone back like the relative power level of 4 cost, right? Their change to make 4 cost meta was buff all their HP. Then they became really meta. Now they're trying to tone it down a little bit. Makes sense. I don't like it, but I understand why, right? That's the vibe. Artifacts. They're buffing all the artifacts. I can't speak to this. I didn't even get to try out most of these. Most of these artifacts are fucking bad, right? Like if we go back to the stats and we go items and we go like Ornn and you go placement, like look at them. Diamond Hands, Eternal Winter, Suspicious Trenchcoat, really good, right? Zonya's Gold Collector, and then look at all of these shits. They're all fucking bad. Like what? Like there's some of these items where they're not good on anybody, right? So it's so hard to tell like if it's enough, right? Like they're Blighton Jewel. Is Blighton Jewel the one with the fucking thing? Oh, Blinding Jewel is this one. Oh god. Yeah, I put this on Morgana. It did not cook. I don't know if I have that video yet. They say it's good on Teemo. Oh, interesting. Maybe they're cooking. I don't know. But like, I can't tell because some of these items were so bad, like Fishbones and Corrupted Vampire Sector. Is 10% attack speed really gonna make it broken? I don't know. So I have to look. Basically, just look at the stats after. That's what I would say. I wouldn't trust any of these because all of these are fucking. All these were garbage, right? They were so bad. Like some of them are situationally big, like situationally really strong. But like, I don't know. I tried Blinding Jewel. This thing did absolutely fucking nothing. It did nothing for me. But I don't think it's gonna change. Like they're not nerfing any of the good ones, so I think it's just a matter of if these become takeable over the good ones, right? Like the good ones always, like since like the beginning of time, right? Like look at the best ones. They're not even like the new ones. Besides Suspicious Trenchcoat, the best ones that perform the best are Diamond Hands, Eternal Winter, Zonya's, Gold Collector, Infinity Force. These are all like the old ones, and then now Suspicious Trenchcoat is like the only new one that was added. Then look, like Wit's End is pretty good on certain units. Anima Visage, Sniper's Focus, like all the old ones are like the better performing ones. And it might be because people don't know how to play with the new ones. But what I'm saying is if you see one that you've never seen before, like the chances are it's probably garbage. like it's the truth. So that's what I mean. I don't know if this is gonna make them up to the power level of those other ones, but we'll see. Augments, branching out. Oh, branching out gives it instantly. Oh, that's big. That's big, because the biggest problem with it was that it gave it a turn later. Oh, that was so annoying. Okay, that's a nice one. I might take it a couple more times now. Golden remover can appear later in the game. That's actually really big, because before you couldn't see it on 4-2. Now if you can see it on 4-2, you can rearrange your items, so it can actually be like a really good bailout augment. Haunted house buff. They're really trying to bring back this ghostly reroll, I feel. Well, I think ghostly might be really broken. I think haunted house with a ghostly setup is kind of fucking nuts. I did that on purpose. Nuts. Also because hiccuping. Inspiring epitaph. Yeah, inspiring epitaph was like one of the best augments. I don't know if this axes it completely, but it does reduce it by a lot. Little buddies as well was really strong, so that's good to see a change. Long shot, the sniper one is getting a buff. I felt like it was pretty bad, but now snipers might be good. Oh, midnight siphon. Oh, they nerfed midnight siphon. Oh, okay, that's actually good, and they nerfed mulched. Yeah. These were really good. I felt like mulch wasn't even that good, right? I know what I'm saying might sound crazy, but like mulched actually performs worse than something like Two's company, like in terms of like stats, right? Like like there's some other augments that were like better. Like mulch wasn't always like an insta take, but it does give a lot of direction. So nerfing it, I'm not even too sad about that, because like I sometimes didn't take it anyways. Like I'd sometimes have a dryad setup and I wouldn't take mulch because other augments perform better, right? So like I don't mind. I think that's fine though. I think like late game mulch is really good for like late game if you hit 6 dryad basically. That's where it really shines. So in those high roll situations it's a little bit worse. That's fine. Midnight Siphon being nerfed is really good. I don't know how big of a nerf it is, because I only got to I think I only played Midnight Siphon once, and I was like triple contested Yorick and I got 5th, right? Like it was just fucking miserable. Oh, actually I played like twice. Yeah, but I got 5th both times. I don't know. Both times like the whole lobby was playing Yorick for some reason. So you know, it is what it is. Reinforcement. Giving some more gold is kind of nice. Helps you with that roll down. This was kind of like a bailout augment, so you know, getting some extra gold is nice. Stars Are Born, giving more gold. That's a little bit scary. I think Stars Are Born sometimes can really make things out of hand. Scapegoat initial gold is also kind of crazy, because if you start making 10 with Scapegoat, you could kind of get out of hand. That's something to look out for. Call to Chaos boosting the emblems is kind of crazy, but I'm down for it. I always take Call to Chaos. I think Call to Chaos, there's like only like 1 or 2 things that are bad in it, right? So you have really good odds of like hitting like a game-winning situation, as long as, but the emblems were like the most RNG. Both times I got emblem, I giga hit on the emblems, so I'm not even, you know, it is what it is. Living Forge going to 8 rounds? What the fuck? Oh god, this might be broken. This might be broken. I've played a lot of Living Forge. 10 rounds is not that long. 8 rounds is fucking crazy. That's 2 stages? What, there's 4 rounds in stage 2, 5 rounds in stage 2, 4 rounds, 4 rounds. So at the start of stage 4, you have an extra Orn artifact now. Right? Bro, that's fucking. And then it's gonna be, oh god. It's gonna be sooner than that, no? I don't know. Shopping spree 3 gold immediately instead of 1 per round. That's a huge nerf. Shopping spree was very broken. This is actually a huge nerf. This is actually a huge nerf. Prismatic ticket? Oh, they buffed it. Before prismatic ticket was lower. They nerfed it like last set. So now they buffed it back to 50%. That's actually really big. Prismatic ticket might be like a really strong augment just to take to like guarantee a top 4. Okay, bugs. Display thing. This stacks correctly. Hyper roll, don't care about. Irelia's encounter, I didn't even see it, so I don't know. Kiana's tooltip. You can pause the video and look at these if you really care about bugs. I'm just looking if there's any ones that I know that are fixed. Yeah, I didn't even know this was a problem, but this would make sense why I'm not hitting my fucking units. Oh, this one. This was a big one. Little buddies did not work on Zaya and Rakan. This was actually a huge bug. So like you would take little buddies because it's like really broken on Kaisa, and then it just wouldn't work on Zaya. That was actually that's a bug I know. So that's actually good that it changed. That's good. I actually forgot about that bug. That's been in the game for a while. That's been in the game for like at least a month. That's crazy. Ink Shadow items are now properly removed. I don't know if there's a problem there. Primary ability target now works on ghost armies. Oh, that's a ghost bug. They can duplicate Ultra's emblems? If Lilia shuffles your first augment, it can no longer completely untail. Oh, this is a big one. So like when you when Lilia shuffles your augments, basically like when you have your stage one, like sometimes it would be like untailored, or you would have it like untailored. Like I think the first augment that you get in stage 2, like I try and tailor it because I actually don't know if you can properly tailor it. From my understanding, I thought you could, but the problem is if you don't have something that's tailored and it shuffles the augment, then the augment will remain untailored, right? So what happens with that is what that means is, like, let's say you have like a bunch of porcelain units in, like there's a certain percentage chance that you will get like either boiling point or a porcelain spat, right? That's what tailoring means, right? So a lot of times, like before your augment selection, you should put in the units or have your board primarily have units that you know, if possible, have the only active traits be the ones that you would want an augment for. For example, if you want haunted house, make sure you only have ghostly in, right? So you don't get some random other trait or tailored augment for something else, right? And that's how the game kind of works. And then if you have no tailoring, it will just random you something. So but I think even if you tailor, it's not like guaranteed. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna get a spat for sure. But it's like that's how sometimes, like, you know, somebody's playing a board and then they get the spat for that particular board. It's because there's tailoring, right? When Lilia shuffled your board, what it would do is it would take that augment, but it would like consider the tailoring of the augment that it was there, right? And then when it would move it, it would be untailored and it was like fucked up, right? So that was a bug that was annoying. But I just thought that, like, that's how they wanted to do it. Oh, Orange can giant clone to just giant clone. Fix some issues. Use with the bruiser fan no longer help calculate. Yeah, okay, whatever. I was looking if there was suspicious trench coat, like if they wanted things to proc, but I think suspicious trench coat is kind of busted right now because, like, if you stack Orn items, so for example, I had a game, I didn't go top 4, so I didn't post on the YouTube, but I had a game where I had suspicious trench coat and Zhonya's, and then the Zhonya's procced on all 3 of the little dudes, which was kind of nuts, right? There's some interactions like that I don't know if they want to keep in the game, but it's like if you have like trench coat and you have like item augments that like, or items that proc at certain thresholds, it procs on all of them, and it's kind of fucked up, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Anyways, thoughts on the meta. I don't think much is gonna change in terms of like general things, but I think there's a lot of small changes, so it's hard to say. I think a lot of like whatever is considered strong, whatever's considered top tier is gonna get shuffled around a little bit, because, like, you know, things like Gain getting nerfs. I think Kaisa getting away scot-free and relatively scot-free, like the 4 trick shot buff nerf might be bad, but I think Syndra is gonna be really fucking busted this set, this patch. And also, like, I think relatively decreasing the health of the 4 cost might make, like, 1-star 4 cost a little bit weaker, which opens up the door for some reroll comps. You might see a couple more 3 cost rerolls, like Duelist has been creeping back in slowly but surely, but some of the other ones that you might recall from before, like Reaper with Yone, for example, with the Reaper changes might come back. You know, so be wary of that. There might be some more outs, some more, like, low-cost outs, because not hitting the, you know, the small HP buffs might make it so that they're a little bit less reliable to play around like 1-star 4 cost. Anyways, I was hoping to make this like kind of short, but it ended up being long because I started yapping, and I'm sorry about that. But anyways, hopefully it was informative. You can watch on like 2x speed or something, and make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you for all the support, and tomorrow we'll get back to like the daily, you know, going through TFT VODs. See ya.